Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me for another Dollar Tree DIY wire wrap tutorial. This will be part 2 of my Passover Decor series, and I'm going to show you how I made this little wine and matza tray, as well as this adorable little Omer count chalkboard. I'm really excited to also show you how I put my final touches on the whole shelf, so if you'd like to see my process from start to finish, stay tuned. Alright, so I'm starting with this little wooden tray from the craft section at Dollar Tree. I did put 2 coats of stain on this tray, and I'm just going to glue some of these little glass accents to one of my longer sides of the tray. This tray only fits into my crate one way. I made sure to check it because I was actually going to put my glass accents on the ends of the tray, but I realized if I did that, it wouldn't fit into the crate. So I went ahead and just decided to do 3 of these glass accents on one of my longer sides of the tray that's going to face out when I put it onto the shelf. So I'm using E6000 and hot glue to glue these onto my tray. Now I'm going to go ahead and wrap my wire element around these little glass accents, and I'm going to use this 12 gauge floral wire from the Dollar Tree. And again, my channel is really focused on the wire wrapping aspect of things, so if you're not a wire wrapper, if this isn't something you want to do to a tray like this, you have all kinds of other options. The Dollar Tree has really neat kinds of ribbon. They have other small wood elements that you can put on here. They have little stick-on gemstones and just all kinds of other things that you can do. You can even just paint it. Just go with whatever you think looks good. So I cut myself 16 inches of wire, and then I marked right in the middle at 8 inches. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use this mandrel to get my initial shape of the circle going here. And now I'm just going to wrap my wire around these 3 little accents. And I'm just going to do a real simple wrap that hopefully anyone can follow along with, and you don't have to have any real wrapping skills to be able to accomplish this if you do like the look of it. And the nice thing about the wire is that you're not going to need to glue this down when you're done, because as you're working it around the accents, it's doing something called being work hardened. That means that the wire is getting slightly harder as you're manipulating it. So by the time you're finished getting your wire looking the way that you want, it's going to be nice and tight, and you won't have to worry about it popping off of your piece. Alright, so let's move on to our matza. So I got the Sculpey clay from Walmart. Now I did originally start this project using clay from the Dollar Tree, but that stuff no offense to the Dollar Tree, it was a nightmare. The clay was so wet and crumbly that I just couldn't get it to hold the shape of anything. So I had to go and get some of the Sculpey, which I'm glad I did. It was a much better quality clay. I could bake it in the oven. So I started out by kneading it and rolling it into this ball. And then I just, as you can see, smashed it with one of my little Pyrex dishes. And I wanted to get it down to about a 1/4 inch thickness. Any thinner than that and the Sculpey clay is going to be just too brittle and easy to break after you bake it, but a 1/4 inch seemed to be just right. So once I had a nice sized circle, I went ahead and just traced some lines with my ruler and this little dental tool that I got from Amazon. I wasn't really too worried about my lines being perfectly square. I kind of wanted this to look organic, like it was a handmade matza cracker. So I got my lines traced in, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut my sides with a butter knife. Then I went ahead and smoothed my edges down. And I wanted this just a little bit flatter, so I gave it one more press with my Pyrex dish. And now we're going to do the fun part and add our little pokes with our fork. And as you can see, I wasn't too worried about keeping these perfectly symmetrical. I just wanted it to look real organic, and I did poke holes in the other side as well. So I got my matza clay baked and cooled overnight, and now I'm ready to paint it. For my base color, I used this toasted marshmallow acrylic paint, and for the top color, I used this classic caramel. And I just took an angled paintbrush and I went ahead and did little dabs of the caramel paint, and I tried to keep it in between the holes that I poked, and I also tried to keep them really random. And as you can see, I dabbed them with a little corner of my paper towel, again because I was just trying to make them not look too much like paint strokes. So I finished my matza off by doing my little baked edges, and I also flipped my paintbrush over and I did just a few random dots here and there around the top. I let this paint dry, and I did paint it the same way on the other side. And here is my finished matza. So now we're going to move on to our little wine glasses, and I used 2 of the wine glasses from this little 6-pack of plastic glasses, and they do come in 2 pieces. So I did glue these 2 pieces together with super glue gel, and then I took them out to my garage and I spray painted them. You don't have to spray paint yours if you don't want. If you're doing this project with kids, you can get different colored tissue paper and have them rip up the tissue paper and Mod Podge the cups, really whatever works for you. I decided to add a wire element to my cups and wrap the stem, and I'm also going to wrap the rim of the cups. I didn't really like how these looked after I spray painted them. I had them upside down for that, and so when they dried, the paint kind of got all goopy and weird upon the rims. So I decided I wanted to hide that, and I also thought it would be a nice matching accent to the red stem. So I took this 12 gauge red floral wire, and I'm actually just going to use the whole spool. I went ahead and left a long tail for myself on the end here so that I could use that as a handle to spin the cup around for myself. One thing to keep in mind if you are going to wrap wire around your stem, these plastic cups are really fragile, so just go really slow. The good news is that this floral wire I believe is aluminum, so it's actually really soft and easy to manipulate. So if you're just careful, don't put too much tension on it, you shouldn't have a problem wrapping it around the delicate plastic. When I trim my ends off here, I want to make sure that I'm trimming them both to the same side of the cup, because when I put this on my display, I want those to be facing backwards, just because I don't like the look of the end of the wires, and so I'm just going to be making sure that I can face them to the back once I'm finished with everything and put them on the shelf. So now I'm going to move on to the rim of my glass, and this is just as simple. I'm just going to make one little wrap around the rim. And again, I'm going to be really delicate with this cup as I wrap the wire around it. And to finish it off, I'm just going to make a little loop, and then I'm going to add a little dab of my super glue gel underneath it and hold it down until it dries. So here's what my cup looks like, and I did finish this loop off in the back, also at the same place that my wires are cut on my stem, again because I want to turn that to the back when I display it on my shelf. So one last little touch that I put on these cups, and you don't have to do this, I just really wanted to use these little acrylic gems that I had. I went ahead and filled half my cup with some of these green accents, and then I filled up the top, as you can see, with these little gems. I just kind of wanted to make it seem like there was wine in the glasses. To be honest, you really can't tell once I have them on the shelf that they're filled with these, but like I said, I just had these and I thought they were fun and I wanted an excuse to use them. And now I'm going to go ahead and make my little chalkboard on which I'm going to count each day of the Omer. And so I got this little chalkboard from the craft section at Dollar Tree, and I did put 2 coats of stain on it. And I wrote my words on my chalkboard with this little chalk marker before I glued my pieces on, just because I knew where I was going to place them on the edges. It was going to make it a little more difficult to actually get those written out and looking nice. And to decorate my edges, I'm going to be using some of these laser cut kraft icons. These are kind of like a thick cardboard. And I'm also going to be using 2 of the blue glass accents. I started by laying out my pieces and getting them situated and just getting a feel for exactly where I think they're going to look the best. And the area that I'm putting my glass accents, I want to actually make sure that there's going to be a little room around those to wrap some wire once this is all dry. So I'm going to be leaving a little space on each of the corners where I'm placing these to be able to do that later. And to glue these on, I just used a combination of E6000 and hot glue. Alright, so once those are all dry, now it's time to add my wire elements, and once again, you can decorate your chalkboard however you see fit. Of course, I'm going to add wire to mine because that's the theme of my channel. So I just went ahead and cut a piece of this purple floral wire, and then I'm just going to do a couple little wraps around these glass accents and finish them off with some swirls.
All right, and now all that's left to do is get my displays onto my shelf. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my battery pack for my lights in the back of my tray here. And as you can see, I've already got my door set up over on the left. I'm gonna put my little wine glasses in, and see, I'm putting those spots to the back that I told you about before that I wanted to hide. And then with my matza, I'm just gonna lean it up against the battery pack there for the lights to kind of hide that, and then also to kind of lean them up a little higher so that they're a little more on display. And for my Omer count chalkboard, I wanted to use some of these little greens from the Dollar Tree. I wanted to have a little bit of the element of bitter herbs in this display, of course, to make my Passover shelf complete. So I'm just going to tuck these around my chalkboard and make sure that they look nice and fluffy and cute. All right, and here is my finished shelf. One final touch I decided to put on this to kind of camouflage it a little bit better and make it not so obvious that these are some Dollar Tree crates was to just drape some fabric over the top. So I just went ahead and got a 2-yard strip of red fabric from Walmart, and I folded it up so that it was the same width as my crates, and then I just laid it over top. And then I did realize that this was actually a much better way to hide my little chalk pen for my Omer count chalkboard. So what I did was I went ahead and just tucked it up behind the corner here underneath the fabric. So that's it, guys. This is my Biblical Feast decor shelf with my Passover and unleavened bread displays. And just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like at night. It does make a pretty cool night light, and I'm just really happy with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do make your own versions of these decorations, I would love to see them. So if you're friends with me on Facebook or you're following me on Instagram, make sure that you share pictures of whatever you make with me. I would really love to see how you guys make these designs your own. Thanks again for joining me for this project today. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to help me make more of these tutorials, please make sure you hit the like button and consider sharing it on your social medias, because that's really what helps my channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new DIY wrap tutorial. I just want to end by saying have a fantastic day, and remember to love your neighbor, and in all things treat others as you want to be treated, for this is the law and the prophets. God bless you guys, and I hope to see you in the next video.